This is Jimmy Burns from Malvern, Ohio, and you're listening to BBQ Central.
Let's go!
We'll do it live. Okay. Well, do it live! I'll write it and we'll do it live!
So to get that perfect barbecue, you use wood. Are you sure it's safe? Whatever. We put the lighter fluid on, strike the match, and... Oh! Should we call the fire department? That might be a good idea.
Good evening and welcome to the Really Big BBQ Central Show. This is the show that talks about all things important to the world of barbecue and grilling. The show originating from the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame city, Bomb City, USA, Cleveland, Ohio, the barbecue capital of the North Coast. I'm your program host, Greg Rempe. Happy to have you aboard here on your Tuesday evening's live fire fun and frivolity show. If you want to jump in on the show tonight, if you want to get in contact with the show in some form or fashion, here's all the ways to do it.
You can get in touch with the show by sending an email to Greg at bbqcentralshow.com. Follow us on all the social media channels at BBQ Central Show. And be sure to subscribe to the show podcast feed on your favorite podcast platform.
Anything else you want to find out about the show can be found at the main website, thebbqcentralshow.com. And here's what's happening in case you didn't get the newsletter. By the way, for those that are new, if you don't know what the newsletter is, go to the main page of the website off to the top right of the navigation. There's a thing that says newsletter. Hit that. Give me an email address. That's all you really need to give me. And then every Tuesday around noon Eastern, you will get a heads up on what's happening in the show later that evening, round about 9 p.m. Eastern. In lieu of that, 14 past the first hour will find us catching up with the creator of the Oklahoma Joe smoker, which now, of course, is the Oklahoma Joe brand of many other different kinds of smokers, aside from the offset. My pal, BBQ Hall of Famer, BBQ Central Show guest Hall of Famer, Joe Davidson. Oklahoma Joe. When people say, hey, have you ever heard of Oklahoma Joe? A lot of people are talking about a cooker. But when I say, hey, have you ever heard of Oklahoma Joe? I'm talking about a human being. And Joe Davidson is that human being that I'm talking about. So we'll be talking a little bit about BBQ Hall of Fame. We'll be talking about the explosion in popularity of pellet cookers, what Joe's experience was like with pellet cookers way back in the day. Joe's been in it for a very long time. He's seen the evolution of cookers in the market. So it'll be interesting to get his take on what Joe Traeger brought to market early, mid-'80s, and then spool up to where we are sitting here May 31st, literally one day away from June of 2022. By the way, 2022 rapidly coming to a close for those that were wondering. So Joe Davidson coming up here in about 11 minutes. Then 35 past the first hour, because 2022 has been a huge show of first-time guests. We will be joined by first-time guest and the Vice President of Marketing at Nexgrill, Ramsey Hawfield. Very excited to speak with Ramsey this evening. Now, much like we'll be talking about pellet cookers and the evolution of cookers, if you will, with Joe Davidson coming up here in a few short minutes, Ramsey and the Nexgrill folks are bringing something unique to the market. If you're not familiar with it yet, if you don't follow me on social, you're missing it, and I'll tell you how you can do that here in a second. However, it's one thing that we have long clamored about, and for the first time this year in 2022, we're seeing, which will now be two of these types of grills available on the market. That's part one. And part two, something that no grill has ever had on it that I'm aware of as we sit here in 2022. Part A, thermostatically controlled. Of course, we know that's not the first one to do it. Charbroil announced their Cruise Grill earlier this year. I was part of that unveiling or webinar or whatever they had with that. And I have yet to see it physically, but that was the first one I've heard have it after we had talked ad nauseum with Meathead and all the other folks that are gadget people and grill people in the field going, hey, with all this other technology just happening, how we do not have a thermostatically controlled grill? And there was all talk of it's very hard and it's complicated and involved, and the list goes on. And Charbroil brought the first one, Ramsey Hawfield and Nexgrill bringing the second one here to market as we get into the first half or starting to complete the first half of 2022. But to my knowledge, the first to be bringing a grill that is also paired with what? Not a side burner gas, not an induction side burner. How about a big ass air fryer? Yes. So if you wanted to have, the grills that have the charcoal grill on one side and the gas grill on the other. So evaporate either the gas or the charcoal grill, and then in its place, put a big ass air fryer. And that's what Nexgrill has, except their gas grill portion is thermostatically controlled and it's smart. And there also happens to be an attached air fryer to it. So if you're sick of the rudimentary waste of money side burners that you find on most gas grills, and there's only one induction burner on a grill that I can think of to date, air fryer might be the best opportunity to get some of those actual uses when you're talking about things that you're adding onto a grill. I might fall into the camp that I'm not sure if a air fryer needs to be on a grill, but it's certainly something outside of the box, and it's thermostatically controlled. So that's what's happening in the first hour. Second hour, we'll be welcoming back BBQ Hall of Famer, BBQ Central Show guest Hall of Famer, author, TV personality extraordinaire, and the list goes on, Ray Lampe, Dr. Barbecue. Plenty to talk about with Ray. Catching up with him after a bit of a hiatus, so there you go. Follow me socially at TikTok, Instagram, Twitter, and Snapchat at BBQ Central Show. And you can get live video feeds of the show on Facebook and Twitch /BBQ Central Show, also over on YouTube /RD Rempe, and streaming live audibly on Clubhouse as well for those of you that just want to hear it and not look at it. And by the way, I don't blame you for that. So let's start here this evening before we get to Joe Davidson. This past Wednesday, the BBQ Hall of Fame class of 2022 was exclusively announced right here on the show. We did it live.
We'll do it live.
That's right. We did it live. If you missed it, Joe Traeger, Ed Mitchell, John Marcus, Leanne Whippen were all put in. 3 of the 4 seem to be left untouched for criticism, but one drew a slew of emails and direct messages to the show since the announcement was made last week. And that person was Leanne Whippen. There was a lot of anti-Leanne sentiment getting tossed my way over the past week. I saw some of it on social media as well, all having to do with her getting into the Hall of Fame, with a caveat on a majority of those opinions. Quote, especially over Darren, as many folks added in their communications to me as well. Whether you agree or disagree with some or all of the people put in this year, that can be debated, perhaps for eternity. And that's what many halls of fame produce anyway, a lively discussion on the merits and qualifications of that year's particular class. So debate as you wish, but remember, this class was originally decided by the people that sent in names for nominations. If no one would have nominated Leanne, she wouldn't be in the Hall of Fame. She wouldn't have made the list of 9 finalists before that. However, she was nominated, so she gets evaluated by the names committee like every other nominee. So if you had a problem with the list of 9 finalists, then you have a problem with the names committee, and I'm sure they're able to take that heat if you want to levy it in their direction. But if you have a problem with Leanne getting into the Hall, then you have a problem with the living Hall of Fame members that voted her as one of their top 4 picks. Yes, the names committee gets to vote too, but the majority of the tally is coming from the Hall of Fame members themselves. So if you have a problem with Leanne getting in, then you have a problem with those Hall of Fame members. Here's what I suggest. If you want to see Darren in the Hall of Fame next year, email Darren and interview him about his life in barbecue, all aspects of it, competing, teaching, business, charity, all that stuff. Then take that info, go to the BBQ Hall of Fame website, see who's currently in the Hall of Fame that's alive, because they'll vote, and send them the reasons why they should vote for Darren with one of their 4 picks, with all of this great information you've learned from interviewing Darren. That would be the best thing you could do. And if you're not willing to do that, then you can't complain about who's getting in each year, because in the end, the general barbecue and grilling public are the ones sending in the names in the first place, which can lead to a whole other take that unfortunately I don't have time to do right now. But Joe Davidson is in the green room and he's ready to rock and roll, so we'll talk to him here in just 1 second. Keeping in that realm, though, I will talk to you about Oklahoma Joe's. Since the company's humble beginnings in 1987, Oklahoma Joe's has helped those who appreciate the process and craft of smoking. What began with Joe Davidson, a member of the BBQ Hall of Fame, and a dozen hand-built smokers at the Oklahoma State Fair over 30 years ago, has since forged an Oklahoma Joe's brand that builds some of the most sought-after and trusted smokers on the market. Oklahoma Joe's has a proud history of creating uncompromising smokers and grills with a carefully crafted design, and the newest generation of popular Rider Series pellet grills carries on that tradition. The new features in the Oklahoma Joe Rider Deluxe pellet grill include a Pit Control 2.0 system that delivers the category's first dual sensor temperature control. Fire Focus dual sensor feedback optimizes heat control based on the selected cooking style, low and slow smoking or high heat grilling. A power feed system that boasts a high torque auger motor that powers through pellets for incredible power and performance. The new Rider Deluxe series builds on several popular features, including smoke and sear modes, which feature an impressive temperature range that runs from 200 to a searing hot 650 degrees, and a 20-pound quick drawer hopper that allows unused pellets to be drained in seconds for simple storage, removal, and swapping of pellet flavors. Want to find out more? Hit the website, oklahomajoes.com. That's oklahomajoes.com. See their offset pits, see their pellet cookers, see their barrel cookers, the whole gamut. oklahomajoes.com, and we're back with the Oklahoma Joe right after this. Stick around. We'll be right back.
You're listening to the BBQ Central Show, presented by the Rider Deluxe Pellet Grills from Oklahoma Joe's. Broadcasting live from the BBQ Central Show studios in Cleveland, Ohio. You're listening to the BBQ Central Show. Once again, here's your host, Greg Rempe.
Welcome back. This portion of the show being brought to you by the Barbecue Guru, creators of automatic pit temperature control technology, sellers of ceramic cookers with built-in power draft fans and accessories to make your barbecue and grilling life easier. Visit bbqguru.com for more information or give them a call at 800-288-GURU. The Barbecue Guru continues to be a breakthrough in barbecue technology. Kicking off the show this evening is a barbecue legend. Let us list a pit builder, yes. Barbecue restaurateur, yes. Successful businessman, yes. Barbecue Hall of Famer, yes. And Barbecue Central Show guest Hall of Famer. Yes, let's go ahead and race to the Oklahoma Joe's Rider Deluxe Pellet Grills hotline and welcome back friend of the show, Joe Davidson. Hey, Joe.
Hey, it's good to be here.
I am so grateful that you are once again back in the friendly confines, or as we say, the jungle of the Barbecue Central Show, and looking forward to our chat here this evening. So before we talk about pellet cookers tonight, Joe, a few years ago, you were inducted into the BBQ Hall of Fame, as I had mentioned this past Wednesday. The class of 2022 was announced. John Marcus, Joe Traeger, Leanne Whippen, Ed Mitchell, all in on the living side of the Hall of Fame here. All great names, to be sure, but I'm curious to know if one or two of them really resonate with you on any particular level and why.
Well, I will tell you that they're all very well deserving. And you know that there's so many people that truly are Hall of Famers that just haven't made it in just yet. So I will tell you right now that I love the inductees this year. There are a couple that stand out to me. I think number one would be Joe Traeger. My gosh, the guy started the pellet grill revolution so long ago. Actually, as long ago as I started Oklahoma Joe's.
Right.
So my hat's off to him. Number one. I will tell you that John Marcus has done so much for the world of barbecue and barbecue entertainment and television. And so that's it. And the others obviously are very well-deserving members as well. So that's my take on it. And if the one you were rooting for didn't make it, they're going to make it eventually, I guarantee you.
When you got the list of 9 names to vote on, were you aware of all of them, or did you have to do a little bit of homework on some? I have to admit, there were a number that were carried over from the year before, and there were a small handful that maybe was the second or third time on the list. There were a few restaurateurs that I didn't know, but you're a guy that's in that game as well. Did you know all 9?
I knew of every one of them, but I still love to take the time to read their bios to really understand them and get a feeling for where they came from and that perspective, not just the social perspective, but the real perspective of where they came from. And let me tell you, when you start trying to make a decision, you don't just flip a coin. These are really, really big pros in the world of barbecue. And it's an honor to actually get to vote for them.
You know what I found to be extremely coincidental is a couple years ago, Desiree Robinson, Cozy Corner Barbecue, Memphis, Tennessee, gets in. And you do a little background on her. Husband starts the business. Husband passes away. Desiree takes over the company and brings it to where it is today. All the while, the next generation is in line. The next generation after that is in line. And then I didn't know anything about Flora Payne. Memphis, Tennessee. Husband starts the business. Husband passes away.
Yep.
Flora steps in, and all of a sudden you have this almost equally impressive. And again, in Memphis, so I don't know what's in the water in Memphis. Don't be a man and start a barbecue business for sure, but make sure you have a strong wife behind you who has the business inclination and knows how to cook to keep it going.
Most of us do have great wives behind us. There's no doubt about that. And it is important. I had the honor of sitting next to her when I was inducted. So really a sweet, sweet woman, loves barbecue, and just salt of the earth.
When you were inducted, you did make it a point to tell me that you also were going back to cook the American Royal. Plans to do that again this year?
No, I retired over 10 years ago at barbecue competitions. I was reminded very soundly of why I retired last year. Holy cow. I stunk up the place, but I had the biggest time ever. My team was there with me, and we cooked great turn-ins, things that would have truly won 20 years ago. So it was so much fun. But no, I'm going to go up to Kansas City and shake everyone's hand and have the class reunion. But if anyone needs help on their team, I'll be glad to come around and hang out with you.
So when you look at where competition was 20 years ago, as you said, you cooked stuff that would have won 20 years ago, 15 years ago, whatever, and you see where it is now, there's always a lot of scuttlebutt about evolutions of things and well, this is how it's done today, but back in my day, blah, blah, blah. And it always back in the day, it was much better than whatever's happening now. How do you view competition barbecue now as it relates or as it compares to when you were really knee deep in it?
Golly, that's a great question. I will tell you that I think the one thing that's changed barbecue competitions more than anything else is the certified judge network. And quite frankly, I was the I hated to see that come on board. I always felt like that, who are you to tell me what great barbecue is, and who are you to tell the judge what great barbecue is? They should have their own mind on what great barbecue is and not be told this is the perfect pull, this is the way you pull a brisket. They should do it should be they're the judges. Don't tell them how to judge. Let them be food lovers and barbecue lovers and let them do that. That's the number one thing that's changed. So I think, and if, I know this will rub some people wrong, but don't be telling people what is right and then steering them in a right direction when it really might be in another direction. It's a free flowing and it's ever changing, but great barbecue is always great barbecue.
Certainly nobody knows it better than you because you were a very successful competitor, but I would have to imagine that what you would find at an Oklahoma Joe's restaurant doesn't necessarily directly compare to what you would have turned in tomorrow or 10 years ago or 15 years ago.
You know what? We're using exactly the same wood, the same spices that we did, not just 15, 20, but 25, 30 years ago. And Jeff Stadium, my original partner in Oklahoma Joe's, he is as well. And we've always said that, you know, we don't best barbecue in the world at the restaurant, but we've got to cook better barbecue than anybody else does in our city every time. And that's still our philosophy. I think that competition barbecue is like climbing a mountain. You climb to the very peak of it, and that's when it's perfect. But you can fall off that other ledge and it goes bad very, very quickly. So there's a fine line between the perfect barbecue and the barbecue that was almost there or just went too far.
Joe Davidson joining us here on the show. Joe, last time you were on, we spoke briefly on the growing popularity of pellet cookers, but as you look back at this industry of cookers, and you know better than anyone what it's like to build something, then all of a sudden have it become quickly in demand, as you told the story about going to the Oklahoma State Fair with just a small handful and walking away with orders of hundreds and wondering how you were going to do that. What were your first thoughts on pellet cookers back in the 80s? We had mentioned Joe Traeger getting into the Hall of Fame. That was 1984, 1985. They first start coming out. What do you think about that as it starts to roll out?
You know, as a stick burning guy, charcoal guy, I thought it was the biggest joke in the world, and actually on the edge of cheating. That's what I thought about it, especially in the world of competition barbecue. But as time would only tell, what they did was they made it possible for people that weren't really great at fire management, that weren't really attuned to staying up all night long and cooking barbecue or doing long, slow cooks. It really made it possible for just anyone in their backyard to cook world-class barbecue. That's what happened as it moved along. So originally, no, I didn't care for it, but now I've drank the Kool-Aid. I guarantee you that.
Products can meander around for a while and never really see huge success. So as you start tracking popularity of pellet grills, when do you realize this is something that's going to be bigger than just for the folks who are really us, the barbecue nerds, love to figure out different ways to cook stuff, have as many grills as possible? This is going to go mainstream. When do you see that happening?
I think that really was in the mid 2000s, 04, 05, when really people, and that's when I really stepped back and was going, oh my gosh, this is going to impact our industry in a way that we just don't really know just yet. And the other thing I loved about it was the ancillary markets that it opened up. As a manufacturer, as a guy that likes to sell products, I was like, holy cow. We don't just get to imagine if we were selling gas grills and we got to sell all the propane that went in those. So this was an opportunity to sell a pellet grill, and we do get to sell all the pellets that go in that. It puts us in that market for a fuel and the BTUs that it takes to cook well.
When consumers are looking to add a pellet cooker to their fleet, or maybe this is just the first cooker, I don't remember the last time somebody's come up to me and said, hey, I'm looking to buy my first grill, and the pellet cooker was something that just fell out of somebody's mouth, but that's the type of world that we're in now. So if you're looking to get one, or you're looking to add one to the fleet, or you just want to add another pellet cooker to your existing fleet, when people are asking you, what should I look for, what should I consider, what do you tell them?
Well, I'll tell you that number one, there are a few things that have plagued pellet grills over the years. I think that number one is that they just, and I'm talking about even the mid 2000s, 2010, etc. They just didn't get hot enough. There was no sear zone in those, so they weren't as versatile as what I wanted in a unit. Because even in competition, we may cook low and slow, but when it's turn-in time, I want to be able to glaze it and sear that and really caramelize what I put on the outside of that slab of ribs or that chicken, etc. So that was the first thing I would look for, is what gives me the range and temperatures that go from low and slow to searing the perfect Pittsburgh steak as well. So that's big time right there. I think the second thing you've got to look at is temperature control is so important. And one of the things that I've always liked about pellet grills is that a great stick burner that's got an offset firebox, the secret to that is getting a big bed of coals in that and letting the heat do the work for you. And it creates a tremendous amount of convection. So airflow is so important, and radiant heat, and the combination of those make for great barbecue and great bark. So pellet grills do that if they've got a really good fan system. Imagine having a little bitty forge in the bottom of a cooker, and it's got pellets that are dropping on that. So it's like a blacksmith. You've got a forge right there at the bottom of these pellet grills, and it's creating all this convection and the heat that's coming up through there, and a multitude of flavors. So that's the other thing that I'm really looking for.
The Ryder DLX line of cookers from Oklahoma Joe's has brought some new features to the game that I haven't really seen before. What do you like about them when you use them?
Man, I'm going to tell you, I've been cooking on mine for the Ryder Deluxe for about almost a month now, when I first put the first one together. And the thing that I love about it is, first of all, just its dashboard. Man, it's got a big, wide open display. I can see exactly, without wearing my spectacles everywhere, what's my temperature in the cooker, what is it at my fire pot, and it's easy to set that. I mean, a big old knob, you turn it up there and click set it, and it's intuitive, kind of like an iPhone is, the way you run the unit itself. The other thing I love about it is that I have the opportunity for lone cook meats to be able to have 4 different inserts, internal meat thermometers that plug into those individual cuts of meat. So I can monitor 4 different cuts at one time inside the cooker. And not to mention, you got this center sear zone. And I love gas grills. I've had a gas grill. I've got one right now. But ever since I've got my regular Ryder DLX, and then now this brand new version 2, I haven't fired up my gas grill, my Sabre, in 2 years, because it's so easy to crank it up and cook steaks. And I cook steaks all the time, and fish and chicken.
Well, one of the biggest knocks, as you had mentioned, is that pellet grills just, not only do they not get hot enough, but I think a lot of folks were marketing them as an all-in-one cooker. And for those of us that have played around with any number of cookers, we realize, in all honesty, that a lot of these aren't all-in-ones. You can set 500 degrees, but when you put a steak in there at 500 degrees on a gas grill is different than 500 degrees in a traditional pellet cooker, and we know all about it. So it's doing what it says it's doing, but it's not giving you the same experience. And from what I understand from what you're telling me, the DLX gives you that sear zone. So it is, in essence, like a gas grill or a charcoal grill, except you got wood pellets going underneath it.
That's exactly what happens. You've got a handle that's on this unit that goes from smoke, which diffuses the temperature across the whole grates, makes it very even. You still got a few little hot spots here and there, but when you open that to sear, you've got about an 18-inch diameter circle with cast iron grates that are porcelain coated that are they're hot. I mean, they are hotter than the hubs of hell if you want them to be. And that's the secret to be able to do a perfect steak. You know, if you want to have a good char on the outside of an 1.5 inch ribeye and it be the perfect medium rare on the inside, you've got to have temperature. And that's what this unit does.
Joe, did you ever think we would be at a point where there would be lawsuits amongst the grill manufacturers, not for the hardware that's making up a cooker, handles, cooking grates, wheels, things that you had to worry about when you were putting together the first Oklahoma Joe cookers? We're having lawsuits amongst technology, server-based stuff, app connectivity, Wi-Fi. Am I being get off my lawn guy going, I can't believe we're still talking about this is the stuff that we're talking about and could be make or break for companies' successes? It's not the cooker necessarily, it's the technology on the cooker.
Is that crazy or what?
Yes.
I'm telling you, it's nuts to me. It's something that, here's the deal. I believe that patents, whether they're within durable hard goods or technology, etc., the only reason to get a patent is to be able to pursue it and defend it and make money off of that patent. You don't, we can sell all the products we want to every day. So we would like to focus on giving something that really works as it is and not let it dabble over into the court system as to what's the best way to have my iPhone app that works with my cooker. That's the craziest thing I've ever heard of. And no, I did not think this would ever happen to the world of barbecue.
Joe, anything coming up in the next month or two that you'd care to share with us we should be keeping an eye out on?
Oh my gosh, you know, the things that we're trying to do right now at Oklahoma Joe's is to really focus on helping our customers and our advocates be the best cooks in the world. So when you're looking at this, even like tomorrow, I'm going to be doing a Facebook Live where I'm doing what I call the Holy Grail of barbecue. It'll be at 6 p.m. Eastern time on the Oklahoma Joe's Facebook page. And to me, the Holy Grail of barbecue is the perfect smoked prime rib and all the side dishes that go with it. It's so barbecue is a lot more than ribs and brisket and chicken. There are so many things, and side dishes ought to get a headline this summer with what we're going to be doing.
Well, check it out over on the Oklahoma Joe's Facebook page. This is Joe Davidson right here, the original Oklahoma Joe. Joe, always appreciate the time you give to the show, and let's do it again soon.
It's good to see you.
All right, there he is. Joe, right there.
All guests appear via the Oklahoma Joe's Rider Deluxe Pellet Grills hotline.
Great to get his insight on where we are technology-wise in this space. Both of us a little mind blown that lawsuits are taking place over technology versus things that actually are making the grill cook. I guess you could argue that the technology is making the grills cook, since some of you can control the grills with your phones and all that good stuff, ramping it up, ramping it down. Oh, it's the evolution of stuff, right? Of course. That was Joe Davidson, BBQ Hall of Famer right there. Ramsey Hofffield in the green room, ready to come on here in just one moment. Let me talk to you quickly about our friend David Leans and the Do Wellness program. For the last 5 months, here I am talking to you about getting into a little bit better shape. Look, we're all barbecue guys. We're all barbecue gals. We are known to overeat a little bit here and there, sure. But we also know maybe we should be doing something a little bit more healthy for us. But we need help. I need help. You need help. Need somebody to hold you accountable. Maybe you don't have a pal that's right next to you that's going to work out with you. You're going to hit the gym all the time, or exchange war stories and make sure that everybody's hitting their particular goals. That's where David comes in. He's our friend. He's a barbecue enthusiast, a men's health and wellness coach. David McDowell says you can eat barbecue all year around and still lose fat, believe it or not. With David, you've got assistance around the clock. He's just a text message away, an iMessage or a WhatsApp message away, even email. He's also available to FaceTime, Zoom, WhatsApp, video chat whenever you need him, even on short notice. And he's not charging $500 a month like some of these other canned diet plans with 1 to 2 check-ins a month. Forget it. David is partnering with you, giving you access to a resource who's available effectively 24/7. And you're doing it for $200 a month. I'm no mathematician, but there seems to be 6 months left in the year. Do you not have $1,200 to invest in yourself? Of course you do. And you're going to feel better, and your family's going to thank you, and your legs and your heart are going to thank you, and so is your blood pressure, by the way. So hit the website and cash in now, davidleans.com/BBQ. That's davidleans.com/BBQ. Tell him the Barbecue Central Show sent you. Follow him on Instagram, Earl's Cookout. This guy is a really great cook, by the way, and very entertaining. Great follow. davidleans.com/BBQ. Take advantage of it right now, and we are back to talk Nexgrill right after this. Stick around. I'll be right back.
Howard Stern, Jim Rome, Dan Patrick, and Greg Rempe. The Mountain Rushmore of talk show entertainment. Now, let's get back to the Barbecue Central Show.
This portion of the show being brought to you by cookinpellets.com, your number one source for quality wood pellets for all your pellet-driven cookers. You can visit cookinpellets.com for more information or to purchase or to see what other great products they have to add a little smoky flavor to whatever it is you're cooking. Cookinpellets.com. You know, there's nothing more exciting than talking about new products getting ready to hit the live fire market. Tonight, we have one that might pique your interest in a few different ways. For years, we've talked about thermostatically controlled grills, and this year, we will see at least 2 in the market, but only one of those also comes with an attached air fryer. Yes, I said air fryer, and it's coming to you from the folks at Nexgrill, and it's the NEEVO 720 Plus Smart Grill. So, let's learn all about this as we race to the Oklahoma Joe's Ryder DLX Pellet Grills hotline and welcome in first-time guest Ramsey Hawfield. Hey, Ramsey.
How you doing, Greg?
I am absolutely fabulous. Appreciate you making time here this evening to talk about Nexgrill and the NEEVO 720 with air fryer, which I'm very excited to talk to you on many different levels excited. Before we do that, if you could give us a little background on Nexgrill, the company, when it got started, and maybe when you latched on board and started doing what you're doing.
Yeah, sure. Thanks for having me. I really appreciate it. Nexgrill is a company that started around 1993 in Southern California. Gas grill manufacturer back then, and still are today. Obviously, we've grown quite a bit, but we started as making branded products under Nexgrill, and also dealing with private label and licensed brands like Gen Air and KitchenAid, which we've been doing for over 20 years. So it's been a journey for us. Nexgrill is one of the key components within Nexgrill is the supply chain that we've built, which is a group-owned facility, which has been a major competitive advantage for us, as well as big value to our key retailers. And I think Nexgrill's main way of growing in the marketplace has been to partner with those key retailers and focus on what they can do for us, leveraging their audiences, as well as us helping to bring new products to them and innovative products to their audiences. So, that gives you a little bit of history on Nexgrill. But when you look at Nexgrill overall, that manufacturing facility is one of the largest gas grill manufacturing facilities in the world, producing roughly 2 million grills per year. So it's kind of a household name you may have not heard of, in a lot of households yet.
So is Nexgrill a brand, or are you also the manufacturer of, the other lines that you had mentioned as well?
We manufacture all of it, yeah. So Nexgrill is our house brand, along with another brand called Mega Masters under the same umbrella of our global leisure group. But Nexgrill is a branded product, yeah.
What's the business?
We manufacture the Gen Air. We manufactured KitchenAid for the years, like I mentioned. So we've done a lot of private label and licensing deals throughout those 30 years in business.
This has nothing to do with anything, and you won't care, but many, 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 many years ago, When we first moved into our first house, my wife got me a Kenmore gas grill. I cooked through the back of it like a year and a half. We use it all the time. And I was going to buy, at the time, this $1,300 all stainless steel Jenn-Air grill. It had that big rotisserie burner in the back. This thing was awesome. And then I just happened to talk to my cousin Glenn Rempe, who was a barbecue caterer in Maryland at the time. And he's the one that spun all of this up. I had no idea about barbecue. He told me all about it. I got a barbecue pit, a Weber Smoky Mountain, and a Weber gas grill instead of that big honking Jenn-Air grill. And, fast forward 20 years, and here we are with the show and all that other stuff. But that Jenn-Air was pulling at my heartstring. I mean, it was pulling at my heartstring. That thing was the sexiest thing I've ever seen in all stainless steel. And to this day, I rue that I didn't get it. But, of course, if I would have done that, then maybe we wouldn't be here talking about the NEEVO here in a couple minutes. Anyway, how are you finding the business climate like right now compared to the last 2 years, which were mega busters for pretty much anybody providing a service or a product into the live fire community?
Yeah, it's been a wild ride for all of us, right? I mean, everybody locked down and demand went crazy for furniture and exercise equipment, and barbecues obviously were a piece of that. You were in your home and you wanted to cook. So we saw that rage just like everybody else. We're seeing it tamper a bit. It's starting to slow a bit, where you see some of that demand has pulled through and people are starting to get back to work and live their regular lives. But there's no doubt that this pandemic brought a lot of people into, live fire cooking in their backyard, and it's going to grow and continue to grow because of that. We still see a strong demand over 2019. So, that's kind of how we're watching those numbers to see the bubble that we had in 20 and 21. And then comparing that with 19. So we're still seeing strong growth over that time period. So I think we have a whole new audience of customers they're grilling out there, and we're excited about it.
Ramsey Hallfield joining me here on the show, nexgrill.com, the website. Ramsey, I've talked to some other grill manufacturers or brands who are actually holding off shipments coming in from overseas because the inventory that they already had on ground here, maybe the big box retailers or whoever they were partnered with, were pretty flush with stuff already. They weren't running out, so the inbound stuff isn't necessarily needed. You guys in a similar situation where you're like, hey, just kind of back it off there. We're pretty good with inventory here locally at this point, or are you not in that situation?
I mean, those conversations go on every day to manage the inventory, and that's what makes us good partners with our retailers, because we've got facilities that allow us to do that if need be. And we've had some great relationships with people like Home Depot for a long, long time. So we work those things out and figure out how to make sure the inventory is where it needs to be when it needs to be there. I know Memorial Day this past weekend has been a great grill selling weekend. So hopefully those inventories are starting to move, and the summer's kicking in all over the country, and that's I think it's going to be a good season for us.
So let's dig into this NEEVO unit, specifically the 720 Plus Smart Grill. And let's start with the grill portion. Earlier this year, Charbroil unveils their Cruise model. At that point, was the only thermostatically controlled grill to hit the market that I was aware of. The NEEVO 720 is now the second grill that is going to be of similar concept, thermostatically controlled, or for those that don't know, setting a temperature and just going from there. Given the amount of time gas grills have been around, is it shocking that 2022 is the first time we're seeing this attempt at temperature control on a grill?
Yeah, I mean, I think, hearing second makes me cringe a little bit, because I know we've been working on this since 2019, and I think some of that pandemic hurt our ability to go over to China and keep these things going and get the development where it wanted to be. But it's been a long time coming for us, and it's been on the radar with us and our retailers and the customers asking for those products for many years. The Internet of Things is not something brand new. I think it's definitely hitting the barbecue industry a little harder now and becoming a nice selling feature for customers. But yeah, I think it's been a 3-4 year journey for us as we've gone into the market to try and get this out there. So it was meant for this season. We're here now, kind of coming in June here into inventory for the NEEVO Plus. The regular size NEEVO is already in stock, but that air fryer version is coming in late next month, and we're excited to get it on the market.
We've talked on this show through various guests for 10 years, 15 years about how come we don't see one of these. And then it's always pontificated on, usually boiling down to, it's really hard to do whatever's happening in an oven
on a gas grill. I'm not smart. I don't know anything about that other than that just seems to be the refrain over the last decade or so. Is it that hard to do something on a gas grill that's already achievable in an indoor cooking appliance?
I don't know if I want to answer that because there's technical people in the company that probably would have a different opinion. But yeah, I mean, the technology of modulating valves and what we've done to create this proprietary valve system, it takes time. You got to make sure these things are obviously safe and tested to get to market. So a lot of that is around the safety side of it to make sure that they function properly and they don't just open up all the way or shut off all the way or keep burning after the flame goes out, keep sending gas into the unit. So it's all safety related to make sure that these things are perfect for the market before they go out there.
The newest complementary piece this year that I thought was a bit of a game changer was the induction side burner the Traeger put on their new $4,000 pellet grill. But then I saw the NEEVO, and Nexgrill has really gone outside the box by adding this side air fryer. Was this a feature that is management driven, or is this something where you're getting an influx of input from customers going, and the refrain now is air fryer, air fryer, air fryer, and you're like, hey, let's marry these two up together and see what happens?
Yeah, we've been making air fryers on the private label side for quite a while, and it's a customer request. It's not just air fryers; it's getting into pellet grills with searing burners and griddles that do combo units as well, where you have gas and griddle next to each other. So it's a trend we definitely see with customers looking for that combination of units outside in that outdoor kitchen. And the air fryer was a natural fit for us because we had the manufacturing capabilities to do both. And working with, again, Home Depot, our retail partner for this product, we looked at them and heard those same comments from them, looking for more interesting functionality, something that can complement. Obviously, you're cooking burgers on your grill. You want some French fries with that. These two things come out of the same unit. You don't have to go in and out of your house and trek across your wet yard and dodge your dog droppings and whatever else to get to your house to get your fries going. So it's all about convenience. It's for us, the reason that air fryer is there is convenience of cooking that meal for your family outside.
What kind of a capacity does this air fryer have versus the one that I have on my shelf? I have a Ninja Foodie whatever model that is pretty good for indoors, but is this substantially bigger?
It's 13.8 quarts. So if that gives you some reference, it's got that kind of capacity, which it's a large unit, and it's got multiple trays inside of the unit for cooking different things. So at different levels, when you're talking, depending on what you're putting in there, obviously it has a good size unit there with 13.8 quarts.
There's quite a bit of tech on this grill as well. After all, it is billed as a smart grill. What is the consumer getting with the purchase on the tech side of things?
Yeah, the controller is the biggest piece of the NEEVO. That's the new exciting news for us. So that SureTemp controller is what we're calling that, and that's NextFi enabled, which allows it to talk to your phone, be controlled by your phone, so that you can monitor temperatures, you can monitor probes and meat temps, you can set timers. And it's even got a few other features in there that are pretty interesting, something like an auto warm feature. So what that does is allow you to have your probe number one in your meat, and it's sitting on the right side of your grill. When that meat hits the temperature you've targeted, you've set, that grill will shut off the right burner and leave the left burner on low to keep that food warm until you're ready to come pull it off, so you don't overcook that food and it's ready to be served. So there's some real great convenience around the technology. Another one I'll mention is the self-cleaning auto shutoff. So there's a technology there that allows you to say, I'm done cooking. I'm done with my grill here. So let's hit this button and it'll run the grill up to 600, do a quick burn off for 10 minutes, and then shut off the entire unit and power down. So that's obviously a safety feature. It's a gas saving feature. So the technology is just allowing you to, it's again, the convenience and the performance and the functionality, right? Those are the things that we're focused on with this grill, and the app talking through that controller to the grill allows us to just have a better experience cooking, make sure we're not burning our food, make sure we're not wasting gas, shut that thing down, and be able to enjoy our company and be with our friends and family while we're cooking and not have to sit there picking up the lid, poking the meat, looking at what's going on. The app's going to do all that for you and make sure that you're enjoying your party and enjoying your guests.
I've asked this question a number of times to the grill manufacturers and the grill brands when they come on. 15 years ago, this question wouldn't even be thought of because we didn't have this technology. But now when you are making a new product to bring to market. How much time is spent in whatever meeting or boardroom that you guys have, and gals, saying, how much tech are we going to load onto this grill to be competitive within whatever space and price point we're trying to be competitive at?
Yeah, I mean, that's a great question because it's, you can keep loading it up and it becomes annoying at some point, right? It's not useful anymore. And you want it to be about convenience. You want it to be something that's useful for the customer because, if Nexgrill, we're trying to keep our price points very competitive. We want to be that brand that brings value without a real high price point. So you'll see us in that spot in the marketplace. So adding technology adds cost. So we're looking at that as, if I'm going to add that technology, it better have some real good function and something that's really going to be beneficial to my customer to say, I want to choose that product over the other one next to it. So I think it's going to ebb and flow. I'm sure people will overcook it and do too much technology, and they'll back off when consumers don't choose those products. And we're trying to make sure that we're on the underside of that, making functional and convenient technology rather than just loading it in there.
Is there any way for you to track who's actually using it? I get having it on the grill is one thing, and perhaps there's a little bit of fear of missing sale where if you don't have a certain amount, somebody might go, well, I mean, this one does have this, but this one doesn't, so I'm going to buy the one that does. But when they get it home, maybe they're not even really using 20% of it or 50% of it for that matter. Do you have a way to say, okay, somebody's bought this grill with this technology, and now we can track if they're actually using it or not? Or you just get feedback from a customer saying they're using it or not?
Yeah, I mean, we'll mainly focus on what the customers are telling us, and we'll be able to go in and see, I think, hours usage and some minor stats like that. But it's not going to go down to, we're not going to be watching what's going on the grill there that closely. It's more, obviously, we're interested if they're buying that product and if they're giving us positive feedback through reviews and through other comments.
What are we looking at price point wise?
The NEEVO 720 Plus with the air fryer is $7.99 at Home Depot. And then the one without the air fryer is $5.99, which is the exact same gas grill unit. It just doesn't have that side air fryer next to it. So $7.99 and $5.99.
Both are thermostatically controlled. One has the air fryer, one doesn't.
Right. And the grills are identical.
You said they're coming into Home Depot late June-ish?
Yeah, the 720 is in stock now, so and they can both be ordered now on Home Depot. The air fryer 720 Plus will come in kind of late June for delivery. But yeah, they're both on the website available today.
Tracking success of the smart version, do you see a even bigger version coming down the pike potentially, or is this as big as it's going to get?
No, I think it's the future. I think we're looking at expanding these products. When we look at that Nexfi enabled controller, we've got a pellet grill that has that in it already today, where both of those things will work off the Nexgrill app. And we're looking down the line at heaters and fire bowls and all sorts of things to create a connected outdoor experience that's going to give the customer one place where they can control that outdoor environment and enjoy their space and like I mentioned, spending time with your friends and family and creating those memories. So we're excited about that. The Nexgrill app is a big deal for us, and we're very excited about building that community.
Aside from the app, if you are looking for a new gas grill, head on over to Home Depot or the website, nexgrill.com, and check out that new NEEVO 720 Plus Smart Grill, a grill and air fryer all in one. What else would you need? And we're talking with Ramsey Hawfield, the Vice President of Marketing from Nexgrill. Ramsey, really appreciate the time and the insight on the product and a little background on the company, and continued success.
Thanks so much, Greg. We appreciate it. Thanks for having me.
You bet. There he is, Ramsey Hawfield from
You're listening
Nexgrill.
to the BBQ Central Show, presented by the Ryder.
I played the wrong sound.
All guests appear via the Oklahoma Joe's Ryder Deluxe Pellet Grills hotline.
So if you are in the market for a gas grill, what do we tell you? Listen to the guests. Do your due diligence. Check them out in person if you're that kind of person. I can't wait to send this podcast over to my pal Jimmy Malone, broadcast Hall of Famer here in Cleveland on WTAM 1100, the big one, when I told him last Friday when I did a quick hit segment leading into Memorial Day that there's a grill, a gas grill, that has his favorite component, an air fryer, because Jimmy Malone is 100% dead set on the best tasting steaks he has ever cooked. They come out of an air fryer. Come on, Jimmy. I have to be a better friend to you than that. I'm making that commitment to you right now. All right, we thank Ramsey Hawfield from Nexgrill for joining us, and I'll talk to you quickly about Green Mountain Grills. Some of the best pellet cookers out there on the market today, a choice line, a prime line. Choice line, one size if you want to save some cash, if you know you're a good cook, if you don't need all the Wi-Fi and the app connectivity and all that nonsense. But the choice line is the one for you. It will save you some cash, and you will still get a great cooking experience no matter what. If you want all the other stuff that I just said was nonsense, then the Prime is the one you want to take a look at. There's a light on the inside. There's windows on the main cooking chamber and a window on the pellet hopper and 2 internal meat probes. And it's got Wi-Fi. And you can use your phone to run the temperature up and down. It's a whole thing. A couple $100 more. A little bit better of a or more solid build on a chassis, things like this. Sold through dealers only. Go check them out. Learn it up. See what you like best, and then buy the one that best fits your budget and needs. The good news is the Prime and the Choice line all accommodate the pizza oven insert, so get that at the dealer as well. That's greenmountaingrill.com, greenmountaingrills.com. Also on the website, rubs, sauces, and other accessories to complete the Green Mountain Grill cooking experience. We are back to wrap the first hour right after this. Stick around. We'll be right back.
You're listening to the BBQ Central Show, presented by the Ryder Deluxe Pellet Grills from Oklahoma Joe's. Continuing to produce incredibly mediocre content in an exceptionally professional way. You're listening and watching the BBQ Central Show. Once again, here's your host, Greg Rempe.
And we thank Ramsey Hawfield from Nexgrill, nexgrill.com, for joining us last segment. This segment brought to you by Fireboard. Monitor up to 6 different temperatures. Simultaneously connect to Wi-Fi for cloud-based monitoring or connect via the Bluetooth. If you have Alexa or the Google Assistant in your home, you're in luck. Fireboard fully integrated with both. You can find out more by visiting fireboard.com or call 816-945-2232. That's 816-945-2232. The Fireboard 2, the Fireboard 2 Drive, the Fireboard 2 Pro for those high temperature situations, and the Spark. The Spark is really taking the world by storm right now. I know a lot of folks that are using it. I know they love the instant read meat thermometer portion of it, but they love having just the single channel. Is the 5th Tuesday of the month an infomercial? No? Is it talking about great live fire products that you may or may not be familiar with? Yes! That. Nexgrill doesn't pay me. It had an air fryer on it. Of course I'm going to talk about it. And you have to plug it in order to control the controller part. So you have electric air fryer. There you go. But you know, Guy, I'll be angling for Nexgrill to support the show. Wink, wink. All right, that's going to do it here for the first hour. If you're just tuning in, don't worry. We're recording, so you get the podcast at some point early next morning. That's called Wednesday. Next morning. That could be any morning. And we'll have a podcast up on Thursday for the second hour, but we'll talk more about that after we get through the break here. If you have any thoughts or comments or suggestions, hit me up, Greg at thebbqcentralshow.com. And we'll be sure to share those during the remainder of the show as they fit in. We're going to be talking with Ray Lampe next hour as well. And a very special results show coming up at the top of the American Idol Barbecue Central Show edition. Month 2 ended last week. We will see who is getting the boot this month and who the finals are setting up to be. I know you're all waiting with bated breath, as am I. Stick around. We'll get all that information here as we return.
Maddie Rempe from Cleveland, Ohio, and you're listening to BBQ Central.
Happy to have you aboard here for the really big barbecue show.
Boing.
We cook because we have to, and we grill because we want to.
Hit me.
Fine, how's it going?
You have a great show. I'm a big fan.
Boing.
So what seems to be the problem here? This man looks like he's dead, and he's in the crackle. Charbono! It's all about the charbono, dude.
Succulent fish. What?
He ate 2 feet for wieners. Now listen, Libertius, shut your face.
I'm shaking like a dog shit peach seeds.
We have top men working on it right now. Top men.
And welcome to the second hour. It's the Barbecue Central Show. Being brought to you from Bomb City, USA.
Bomb City, USA. Cleveland.
It's a show that talks about live fire stuff. Like ESPN covers the world of sports, this show covers the live fire industry in all forms and fashions. Even non-forms and fashions or the industry from time to time. Still to come on the show this evening, Dr. Barbecue Ray Lampe. In about 12 or 13 minutes from now, we are live audibly on Clubhouse on a audio stream. We are on video streams currently, Facebook and Twitch /BBQ Central Show, and on YouTube /RD Rempe. YouTube having a very robust chat roll going on, so if you want to interact with some other fans, get over on the YouTube. You can get an ad-free podcast feed experience through the Apple Podcast app, if that's the only way you listen to the show and you hate all the ads. Subscribe over on Apple Podcast, and it's ad-free that way. Coming up on the best moments of the Barbecue Central Show in 10 minutes or less this Friday. This is an abridged hype-up, but you don't want to miss it. Look, John is the best at getting these shows down. Just when I think he has hit his stride, he pulls off episode 231, and I am continually reinvigorated for my love of the show with his love of the show, because he's digging deeper than anybody is. I'm not going out on a limb to say nobody is a bigger fan or knows more minutia or more of the show, including me, than executive producer of the Barbecue Central Show in 10 minutes or less, John Solberg. Unbelievable. Coming up this Friday, you are going to hear me talk about bits that I pulled and played on the show from back in 2012, where a then unsexually scathed, is that right? Mario Batali going off on actors judging his food when he was on Iron Chef back on Food Network. Somehow that transitions to Jones Barbecue and Foot Massage, which somehow transitions to Representative Mike Bost going off, or as the kids say, going ham on Illinois state government about a bill that was supposed to be voted on, and it was handed out moments before, like an hour was going to pass before he would have had to have voted on it, and he was pissed, to say the least. You'll get to hear all of that. Don't worry about it. Make sure you subscribe to the podcast feed in order to get that. But notwithstanding that, we have some results to get to. Last week was month 2 of American Idol Barbecue Central Show edition. And John and myself and Rusty Monson sang our hearts out. And after a week, almost week of voting, the results are in. However, if you missed the show last week and you don't know what we sounded like, here's how we sounded.
Just a good old boys, never meaning no harm. Beats all you never saw, been in trouble with the law since the day they was born.
So give it to me, tell me I'm alright. I wanna be your chemical ride, and how I love the things you say to me.
I took my love and I took it down. I climbed a mountain and I turned around. And I saw my reflection in the snow-covered hills till the landslide brought me down.
That's what it sounded like a week ago. I still kind of crap my pants a little bit that we have a signed lead singer of a band sitting in and being our celebrity judge this season. That's a little mind-blowing for me. Anyway, most votes ever over the course of this week. And the lanes between 1 and 2 and 3 were separated by no more than 15 votes. From first to second to third. A large turnout. Swells of me and Rusty to start. Swells of John, which I expected. Midweek and late last week. And then a rush over the weekend before the deadline closed Sunday at 11:59. Leaving us this week is none other than current champion John Solberg. Unbelievable. John, welcome in, and I'm surprised that we're having this conversation. I thought it might be you and me as a rematch of last year, but not to be. So your thoughts on making it to the semifinals, which, of course, I don't think Doug has ever sniffed even the second round, maybe once in 3 years, but your thoughts on your performance last week and how we're booting you out this week.
Hey, super excited to have made it this far. Super grateful for everyone who voted for me. Obviously, no one likes to lose. Not much I can say about that. It was tough competition. You guys are great competitors. It was mine to lose this year, and I certainly have done that. So I've got to regroup, go out there, and come back a little bit harder next year if I expect to continue on in this game.
When you look at this nonsense we are doing from year 1 to where we are now in year 3, what are your thoughts? I'm asking Oklahoma Joe what his thoughts are when you saw a pellet cooker come out, and what do you think about him now 30 years later? But 3 years or 2 years after the debut of American Idol and the singing and how we all thought it was really stupid and I'm forcing everybody to do this. What do you think about it now 2 years in with celebrity judges, the girls being the most ruthless they have ever been this season, and our production ability?
Well, first of all, I think it's still really stupid because it's extremely difficult. I mean, you're like trying to make a pig fly with me. I'm not a bird. I'm a pig. I can't sing. So I think it's extremely difficult. I have learned a lot as far as mixing singing music. You know, I mix my spoken word. So it's still a big challenge. I think it's still difficult. And there's some great competition. I mean, you and Rusty can truly just sit down and sing. So the contest is definitely makes me more driven to improve, get better, try to sing, try to get better. So it's been a great learning experience, if nothing else.
Do you think you would have gone back and done a different song last week knowing what you know now, or you don't think it would matter?
I think hindsight's 2020. You know, it's that was a strategy that got me through last year to the end of picking songs that I was comfortable with and what I thought was in my wheelhouse, and I thought that was a bit outside of it. So probably not. Always got to go back to Rod Gray, you know, put your best food in the box, turn it in. The judges will take care of the rest. So I am confident that I put the best song I could in the box for last week and turned it in. You know, I'm no pride loss for me. I did the best I could with that song and turned it in.
When you look at next month and the finals, just your speculation, who do you think comes out on top season 3?
It's a tough call, and it all just depends on how much time Rusty puts in front of the microphone. If Rusty puts a little bit of time in front of the microphone, he's going to give you some competition. But early on, you know, you've got the edge on him because, you know, you got a little bit of mixing skills and you got a great voice, and you can sing a lot of genres. So it's going to be tough. Do we know who came in first in this month? I'm sorry, I didn't pick up who was first and who was second. First, right? You are the guy to beat. So,
it was, I mean, there were literally 15 votes separating all the way down the stratus. So it was me and then 15 ahead of Rusty, 15 ahead of you. And, you know, you have a unique ability to mobilize
your fan base. And I don't know if some of them took a little time off or just missed it or bad holiday weekend or whatever, but I thought it would have been perhaps another boat race scenario, but it didn't happen to work out like that. And we'll see how it goes next month.
Well, I don't really have a fan base, so I don't have a social media.
You do?
I don't have.
I have the results to prove it. I could go back to last month, and we were boat raced through. By Wednesday, it was already out of hand. There was nobody. It was a fight for second or third. So there is some mobilization ability, or there is some fan base that's carrying you. So just make sure you chastise them accordingly now, right?
That's grassroots,
Right.
My people love me. I'll take the sympathy votes all day long. I'm coming back next year. I'm coming for you.
But come for the winner. Don't come for me yet. By the way, John, congratulations on episode 231. I listened to it today. It was amazing that you hear that and in your ear go, yeah, that's something that's got to be a best moments show. And I listened to the whole thing, and I'm like, wow, that's completely amazing.
Well, I appreciate the kind words even leading into this, but hopefully that's why you put me in that chair.
Absolutely.
Keep getting better. Every show I try to get better. You're only as good as your last show, so I try to go into that every single time. Think ahead, try to plan, try to make it good. I'm trying not just to phone it in so that those fans can get something entertaining. Hopefully go back and listen to the rest of that show. Sometimes it amazes me. I go, how did I even find that? Sometimes it's just luck. But you just have to listen to a lot of shows and you go like, oh, get the pen, driving down the road, write that down, log that in. So it is a lot of fun. It continues to make me a better cook. I continue to learn stuff listening to your shows every single week.
Well, we appreciate you putting those together every Friday, and we certainly appreciate your efforts here in Season 3 of American Idol Barbecue Central Show Edition. Short from repeating champion, but a semifinalist nonetheless, John Solberg. John, always appreciate you stopping by the show and doing everything that you do for the show. Certainly not underappreciated. It is perhaps not even appreciated enough, even though I really try to appreciate it as much as possible. You're a valued member of the society and the show, and we thank you. And good luck next year, John, and thank goodness we're not having to compete against you. Oh, my God. Thank you. There he is, John. Not repeating as champion this year, which I think for Rusty and I is a good thing. Now Rusty and I have to work out the recorded duet or the produced duet, and then we have to come up with our live singing songs. And this is back to the regular length month, 4 weeks, and that's it. Not the extra bonus of 5th weeks like we are here in May. Ray Lampe is in the green room. We'll get to him here in just 1 second. I will let you know about Big Papa Smokers, the one-stop online shop for all things barbecue, a curated selection of only the best outdoor cooking and grilling supplies will get you on the path to better barbecue results in no time. Everything at Big Papa Smokers has been Pitmaster approved by Sterling Big Papa Ball himself. Everything from the award-winning rubs and sauces to the American-made grills, Big Papa's has something for you to become a better outdoor cook than you already are. Really? Yes. Popular flavors like Sweet Money, Cattle Prod, Cash Cow, all proven winners on the competition and backyard circuits. 13 perfectly balanced flavors, transforming ordinary meals into extraordinary. The owner of Granny's Barbecue Sauce. If you're looking for a new go-to sauce, check out that one. Granny's traditional yet powerful flavor reminds us of why we fell in love with barbecue in the first place. And aside from the rubs and sauces, they're selling some of the very best charcoal, pellet, and wood cookers available today. If you're looking for a versatile smoker that's easy to use, check out that Mac 2-Star General Pellet Cooker. Big Papa Smokers, the exclusive Mac dealer, even offering special packages. Not a fan of pellet smokers? Not sure what you need? Call them, 877-828-0727. That's 877-828-0727, or shop their website at bigpapasmokers.com. That's BIGPOPPA smokers.com. We are back with Ray Lampe. Right after this, stick around. Be right back.
You're listening to the Barbecue Central Show, presented by the Ryder Deluxe Pellet Grills from Oklahoma Joe's. Howard Stern, Jim Rome, Dan Patrick, and Greg Rempe. the Mountain Rushmore of talk show entertainment. Now, let's get back to the Barbecue Central Show.
This portion being brought to you by Pit Barrel Cooker, the most unbelievable outdoor cooking device on the planet, currently available in 3 sizes, a host of accessories. Whether you are a beginner or you're a professional, definitely a cooker you want to add to the arsenal, visit pitbarrelcooker.com and tell them the Barbecue Central Show sent you. My next guest needs no introduction. He's appeared on this show in some form or fashion since 2006. He's an accomplished barbecue cook and author. Appears on TV shows, a pitchman, a brand ambassador, BBQ Hall of Famer, and Barbecue Central Show guest Hall of Famer. He's also one of my favorite guys to talk about the live fire industry with. So let's go ahead and hit that Oklahoma Joe's Ryder DLX Pellet Grills hotline. And welcome back, Dr. Barbecue, to the show. Hey, Ray.
Hey, Greg. Good to see you, man. Always a pleasure.
Great to see you.
2006.
Can you believe it?
I can't believe it's that long. No. We don't look that old.
Here's me and Ray in a podcast back in 2006, me about ready to deuce myself because I'm talking to Dr. Barbecue for the first time. So how did you get in? How did you get in the barbecue? What were you doing back then? And I mean, it was such an honor for me. And I mean, here we are 16 years later, and the show certainly evolved. Thank God. And
was I a dick that first time?
Oh, I mean, you were great.
Nicer as I'm getting old, I'm not a dick anymore.
No, you were certainly gracious, and your story is a great story. I could hear somebody interview about how you were in trucking, and it was the family business, and you were in Chicago, and was it Mike Royko, or I think Royko is the last name, the rib contest, and how that all started, and Sweet Baby Ray's somehow thrown in the mix of that, and eventually you moved down to Florida. I mean, it's just a great story of getting out of one industry, deciding to go down to Florida, and I'm going to make this barbecue thing happen. And you did, and you're still doing it. So that takes self-awareness. That takes the self-awareness to say, I have to evolve. I can't be the same way I was 10 years ago. I can't be the same way I was 15 years ago. So as somebody who has really lived a barbecue lifestyle, as I said, I could sit here and listen to anybody interview and have you tell that same story 20 times in a row. And it's always fascinating to me because it's a success story that continues on. And every year it seems to change a little bit, but by and large, it's the consistency of living it, putting in the work, being professional, and seeing the rewards of your labor paying off.
Well, thank you. Those are nice words. And some weeks I feel like I do tell that story 20 times, and I don't mind telling it. I'm happy to tell it again because it's been my life. It's funny to think like this. Sunday I turned 65, which is, I don't care who you are, that's a milestone in your life. And,
sure.
And, we don't retire at 65. I certainly am not gonna, and it's not part of the equation, but it is a milestone age. And you look back and you think, my God, man, how did all of that happen? Because it really has been 2 completely unrelated careers. And, you say barbecue, I've lived a barbecue life. Yes, I have. There's no question about it. But I say this about Chris Capel a lot, that it was just his widget. Chris was going to do that. It just wasn't, barbecue seasoning happened to be the thing, because Chris was that guy. He's just that entrepreneurial guy and creative. And he was the first guy putting those crazy names on his rubs. And I think that's more my story, is that I was an entrepreneur. I just, you think about my barbecue career. Okay, how did I make a living? Well, for a stretch there in the beginning, I was making a living selling food out of a truck. Wasn't that lucrative? Then I was like kind of walking around on the rib burner circuit a little bit. That wasn't very lucrative either. Then I got an opportunity to write a cookbook. And I was like, well, I never thought I knew how to do that, but okay. That's how I paid my bills for 10 years, writing cookbooks. It was great. And then along came Big Green Egg, and I really wasn't a fan of that. And I never thought I'd be a backyard grill spokesman. And then that happened. And now these last 5 years, I'm making a living in the restaurant business. And it's really, it's really amazing how I've rolled from one thing to the next. And like I said, I tend to think it's more of an entrepreneur story. I'd say this a lot. Those of us that way back in the day, we thought we were going to be like NASCAR. Okay, I'm going to be the Miller Lite guy and you're going to be the Tide guy. And it didn't work out that way. It really didn't. You know, when you go to these cook-offs now, it looks like everybody's all sponsored up, but ask me if that's really paying for your mortgage and your rent. And, you know, I mean, I just don't think it worked out quite like we thought. What did happen was the guys who had the entrepreneurial set of balls figured it out. You know, I mean, Myron's a perfect example. Myron's famous for cooking barbecue, but is that really what made him what he is? Or is it just that he's this redneck guy who found his thing and he knew how to run with it? And he knew how to manage the business of being Myron. That's what I always say. I think I knew how to manage the business of being me. And somehow those things just fell in my lap. And, you know, like I could have said, no, I don't know how to write a book, but I needed the money. So I said, yeah, I can do that. And, you know, I didn't know I was going to be good at it for a while. So it's been a fun life. That's for darn sure.
Yeah, it's a great story, and I love listening to it, and love always catching up with you here on this show too. So the folks, we're always getting new listeners. Maybe they're just new into the whole industry, and you know, you're a portion of. It's great to be in this time because a lot of what you would call the old schoolers or the guys that were really in it in the beginning when it really started to gain popularity. I mean, everybody's still around, everybody's accessible, and we can. You know, talk about what it was like back then, but then we can also talk about what it's like now, and that's unique. It's not like it was 200 years ago, and we can only read what Ray Lampe wrote on the pages of books and then speculate on what he meant. I mean, we can just talk to you and do it. So that's the best part.
Yeah, well, you know, you say that, but then again, there's, if you go back to a certain level. Okay, we go back to the days where the early competition days when it really started to morph into what it is. And yeah, there are a lot of us are around. Johnny Trigg said one day, probably 10, 15 years ago, we're talking about this. And again, we saw what was happening in front of us. We weren't exactly sure how it was going to play out. And of course, I like to think that a handful of us were actually managing it too. But Johnny said, I'm bummed out that I'm so old and I'm not going to be here to really reap the rewards. And luckily Johnny has hung around, and I think he certainly has reaped a whole lot of the good stuff, and hopefully still does. I haven't seen him in a while, but Johnny and I could both tell you about people that were there when we started that aren't around anymore. And so it can always go back further than that. But yeah, we are in an interesting time. It's really so cool to think about what is going to happen to this, because it has blown up, and we do have real sponsors now, and we do have real brands that know who we are. I do Cameo. You know what Cameo is?
Of course.
So I'm on Cameo, and it's like, I jacked the price to $79 and people quit hiring me. At $49, I had a bunch of work, or $60 or whatever it was. Anyway, it's fine because it's kind of a hassle, but it's fun to do, and it's certainly good for your ego. Well, I get one out of left field, a business Cameo to do. And I'm thinking this is kind of it's flawed, because for this one, I'm going to get paid after all the fees and everything, $700. And I'm thinking, well, that's kind of nice. I could do those on a regular basis. And it's basically the same thing. And it was Camping World. And so it turned out it was internal. So it was kind of a weird script, and I didn't understand it. And once I started talking to the guy, it was really just a rah-rah speech for their salespeople. But I thought that was really cool that somebody in Camping World knew who I was well enough to think that I was worth $700. It cost them like 9 or 10 to do it. And, but to think that I was that big of a name in any world, that I would be a motivational speaker worth $1,000 investment. I just thought that was really cool. And it just shows you how far it's come, and gosh, where could it go?
This is a great transition when we talk about where it came from. I had learned, so at the end of April, I believe Ray Basso passes away, the founder of the BBQ Forum. And this is another aspect of where things were, 15 years ago, 20 years ago, whatever it was, and, see where it is today. The forum world isn't really hot anymore. A couple exist. Everybody's going to YouTube or just Googling. But, back in the early 2000s, forums were the place to go, and in this space there were none bigger. It was maybe one of the first, the BBQ Forum. So as you learn of Ray's passing, and then you start thinking about the BBQ Forum, when did you first find it, and what was your activity on the BBQ Forum?
Well, yeah, that's a loaded question. But I was living in Chicago, still in the trucking business in like 96 or so. And my neighbor buys a computer. She buys a Gateway, which, back then we got, Gateway or Dell was like what you bought. You got the catalog, and she buys this Gateway, and she's telling me about the barbecue forum. So I go over to her house and I look at it. And of course she's got dial-up service, and the actual software is in its infancy. So it's almost impossible to read because it's so broken up. But I'm like, well, this is pretty cool. I'd kind of been looking for an excuse to buy a computer anyway. I think a lot of us probably were in that boat back then, unless I knew that there was a reason I needed one, but I didn't really know what that reason was. My business was running fine. My personal life was fine. I didn't need this thing, but I knew I better jump in. And so because of her showing me the barbecue forum, I ordered up a Gateway, and it came to my house in the giant cow boxes. Yep. And I put it on my desk and got dial-up service and started looking at the barbecue forum. And it was a few years old, I think, at that point. But again, it was until about 2000. It was really not that functional. And again, most of us hadn't found it yet. But by about 2000, that's right when I moved to Florida and had a lot of extra time on my hands. And so, it was at that point, it was really becoming a thing. And it was this way for us to find each other. All the barbecue freaks to this day, that's what's been the growth of crazy hobbies like barbecue, is because we can all find each other on the internet. Before, I literally can tell you, I used to wait for the bullshit to show up and read it to see what was going on in the world of KCBS. There was no other way to find out. I could call Carolyn once in a while to see what was going on, but literally it's not that long ago. So yeah, but I realized that the barbecue forum was a fun thing, and that I could, sort of, I don't know that I realized it quite as much as by being a smart ass and just, constantly, poking at people, I could make a big name for myself. And I always joke about this because I don't like it when people do it to me now, but Paul Kirk, I poked at Paul, man. I just called him every name in the book and told everybody that he didn't win all those awards and everything. And frankly, it was kind of a mistake on his part to engage me, because it made me Paul was a bigger deal than me at that point, that's for sure. And by poking at Paul and hanging out on the forum, and I used to make fun of the green egg guys and all of that. It was such a social life for us back then. And I knew Ray well. I went to Ray Basso's house, and Ray, I helped Ray a lot too. We talked a lot. Ray was an interesting guy. I think you talked to him as well. We would have these weird one-on-one conversations, but he really listened to a lot of that. And Ray had a huge influence on what I became, because there was no other platform. How else was I going to become Dr. Barbecue, the guy who could talk shit and cook barbecue and help people learn how to cook barbecue without the barbecue forum? So I have a huge amount of indebtedness to Ray and what he did there.
Is there a way to gauge the barbecue forum's impact on the landscape of barbecue back then, and how big of an impact it's made as we sit here today?
Well, there's no real way to gauge it except to, talk to the people, how many people it influenced, how many people that we all know each other because of it. I guess we would have probably found each other at some point, after that, but I don't know. I don't know how that would have worked. It's certainly, I don't know what could get credit for coming before it, as far as networking. Well, I guess it would have been the bullshit. You know what I mean? What else would it have been? I seriously, the National Barbecue Association, way back in the day, would send out a list of everybody's phone number and address. So if you wanted to talk to Sweet Baby Ray or Myron or somebody, if you got that list and you gave them a phone call, as crazy as that sounds and old as it sounds, that's probably what preceded it. So I think the impact is unmatched. I don't know what, I guess we would have came along, because if you know anything about Ray Basso, Ray did his own software. Ray didn't just, there was no WordPress and all that stuff back then. So Ray had to create that software. And the Big Green Egg Forum, a guy named Bill Miller wanted to have a Big Green Egg Forum. And this is before my involvement with any of them, but he called Ray, and Ray Basso helped him set up the Big Green Egg Forum, which was a big part of the Big Green Egg launching in its day and creating that whole quirky, lifestyle of its own. So that's a whole nother layer of it. So I don't know how you could, put a number on it, but man, there's nothing. You see when Ray passed, how many people were hanging around on Facebook and just talking about it and how much of an impact it had on all of us.
Also, one of the original creators of the BBQ Hall of Fame.
Yeah, right. Ray and Mike Tucker. Ray always had the barbecue for him, and Mike was the lead sponsor back then. Mike would, if somebody had a cool idea, Mike would sponsor it, and we all returned the favor by ordering stuff from him and helping his business. But Mike was such a supporter of anything that looked like it was going to be a positive thing. I haven't seen Mike in a long time, but I'm sure he's that same person just doing it somewhere else. So yeah, Ray and Mike had the idea, as far as I know, to do it and put it together. And I told you this in secret this morning. I was like on the secret panel back in the day for the BBQ Hall of Fame, because I didn't really want to seem to be campaigning. I mean, I kind of knew that maybe I might end up in there someday, and I didn't want to really be campaigning. But Mike knew that I knew a lot of people and I knew what was going on out there in the world. So I often was kind of on, like I said, on the secret committee.
Ray, we got about 4 minutes or so before we go to the first break here. So let's talk about the current BBQ Hall of Fame. As I had mentioned to Joe Davidson in the first hour, 4 new members go in on the living side last Wednesday. Joe Traeger, Leanne Whippen, John Marcus, and the fourth name that Ed Mitchell are all in. Your feelings on those 4 for the class of 2022?
Well, I'm pretty biased on a couple of them. John and Leanne are really good friends of mine, and both have, I've been hanging out with both of them for a long time. So I'm really happy for those 2 in particular. Joe Traeger, gosh, I actually work for the same company as Joe now. I haven't met Joe. I met his son. Haven't met him yet, but Joe, he invented the pellet grill. I mean, with the explosion of pellet grills and the way it's changed the industry, my gosh, how could he not be involved in that? And Ed Mitchell, Ed's Ed. I don't know Ed, but I've been around a whole bunch of events, and we have a whole bunch of mutual friends, and he's obviously going to be a great representative of the BBQ Hall of Fame. So I'm really happy about that. I told you, I don't know if I think I told you off air, you and I were talking about when it first was launched. I thought there was a glaring one that people had forgotten to nominate in the past, and I thought it was a shoo-in, was Byron Chisholm, and Byron didn't get in. It's really kind of interesting to me that he didn't. But really, when you look at that list of 9 every year, my God, man, it's really hard, because people want their favorite guy from their favorite lane of barbecue. There's so many different things that constitute this, and everybody wants their favorite guy to get in, the guy that they know that well. That's great, but man, there's a lot more that goes into it. I can tell you, I'm on the committee that it whittles it down to 9. There was, I think, 80 some nominations this year. Most of them well written. Probably half of those people should be in the Hall of Fame, and we had to whittle it down to 9. And it's not simple, and you need a real interesting panel of people that know every corner of barbecue, and it's really, we have that right now. I'm really proud of it. I was looking at the whole list of inductees from 2012 or however far back it goes, and I can tell you I feel good about the diversity, I guess is the right word, but we've looked to every corner of the barbecue world. If you look at it early on, it was pretty much a KCBS kind of driven thing, and it's definitely not right now. We got a couple of serious KCBSers in there this year, but it's not at all, man. I'm really proud of the way it has gone, and there's no real way to decide what are the categories, what is the retirement age for Hall of Fame. It's just not that clear cut. So we need this strong committee, and I can tell you that committee it's really a lot of fun for me, because it's a bunch of barbecue geeks, and they know what they're talking about. And every obscure names will come up, and everybody in the room is like, oh yeah, I knew that guy. I hung out with him in 1980 or something. It's amazing. So I'm really proud of what's happening. And people I know don't understand. Everybody wants their guy in their lane to get into Hall of Fame every year. And boy, it's not that simple. But when I look at the people that get in, I'm proud of every one of them, and I think they all deserve it.
Ray Lampe joining us here on the show. Ray, we'll stop there, and then we'll pick it in. We'll dig into a little bit more of that minutia here in just 1 second. drbbq.com is website. Follow him on social at drbbq or at Dr. Barbecue. I'll talk to you about Yoder Smokers before we get back with Ray. Yoder Smokers designs and builds all of their products right here in the States, building pride through craftsmanship and world-class customer service. That's the backbone of how they've built this company. This approach translates into what can be a truly bespoke style product that elevates gatherings with friends and family, honored to have a trusted place in the backyards of America. From pellet grills to wood-fueled offset pits and charcoal grills, consistent blue ribbon flavor has become synonymous with the Yoder Smokers name. Make no mistake, Yoder Smokers flavor-driven design is unique to each style of pit, and their team has developed their cookers to perform time and time again while outlasting the competition for generations to come. It's this generational thought that's rooted in the handmade products and defines the integrity of the core values: American-made quality, endless flavor, the benchmarks of Yoder Smokers. Check them out today, yodersmokers.com. That's yodersmokers.com. We're back with more Ray Lampe right after this. Stick around. We'll be right back.
Let's get back to a guy who has more experience giving you his opinion than he actually has cooking. Once again, here's your host, Greg Rempe.
Welcome back. This portion of the show being brought to you by Smithfield. Head on over to smithfield.com for recipes as well as tips and tricks from well-known live fire cooks like Darren Worth, Jess Pryles, and Childs Cridlin. Mouth-watering flavor, no artificial ingredients. Smithfield fresh pork is quite simply some of the finest pork money can buy, and is the trusted choice of top cooks for use at competitions and at home. That's smithfield.com, and we are rejoined by Ray Lampe, Dr. Barbecue. Ray, is there anyone you would have liked to see get in this year as well if you could have added one more person instead of 4, if you got to pick one extra person off that list? Who was just off?
Well, I mentioned Byron because Byron just seems like such an obvious choice and deserving. You know, I look at what have you done in the world of barbecue? Okay, you won a bunch of contests. That's great. What else have you done? And when I look at Byron is, talk about a guy with an entrepreneurial spirit. Byron has, Byron, first of all, won every award. It's a great story. He told me about, he won the American Royal Invitational and got drunk and went and woke up in the morning with the trophy in his bed at the hotel because he was so excited about winning it. I mean, Byron had an amazing career as a competition guy, but Byron's also a trained chef. He went to the Culinary Institute of America. Byron created butt rub. I met him. He had just come out with it like 95 or something, and he didn't know much about cooking barbecue, but he was a nice guy and he hung around. And then he went and built this whole company around it. Byron, look at his website. It's not just that one product either. He's got some other really good products. They're dwarfed by butt rub, but Byron has taken a bunch of his money and built this like barbecue playground in Tennessee where he hosts all the European teams for around the Jack. And I mean, Byron's given a lot of money away to, help causes and stuff. Byron's a really well-rounded, businessman. And so I was kind of surprised at that one, but I guess if I would have picked one that should have got in, it would be Darren, because, Darren, I think probably gets forgotten because he's just still in the middle of an ass-kicking career. Darren, to me, Darren clearly belongs in the Barbecue Hall of Fame, and he'll get there. It's just a matter of time. But I guess that, to me, that's the one that would probably stand out.
Are we able to do a real insider's look at what's going on after the name nomination? You had given us a little bit of insight there before we went to the break, but you get the list of 9. What's happening behind the scenes to assure people who might be suspect that things are not being done the right way, or it's a solely popularity contest? Give us the integrity and the seriousness of all the names as they're being considered.
Yeah, so the way it happens is there's a committee of I don't know how many people it is. It's on the BBQ Hall of Fame website. There's all the names are there, and we have a series of like 4 meetings. So the first one we have this just to kind of get everybody together and remember what we maybe refresh a little bit of what we had thought last year at the end, and you know what kind of new nominees there might be, and turns out there's like 80 some nominees this year, which I used to bitch at people all the time. You nominate your people, well, they get nominated now. There's a lot of nominees, and again, I would tell you half of them off the top of my head will probably end up in the Hall of Fame. This is a big list of quality people, and so then we just have our meeting, and there's an informal part of the committee that sort of works on things like the new award, the Impact Award. You know, okay, what are we going to do with this? We know that there's a huge influence from the slaves that cooked barbecue. There's no misunderstanding there. So how do we do that? Do we make the slaves an inductee into the Barbecue Hall of Fame? That doesn't make any sense. And we've got some experts on the subject, Adrian Miller on the committee. So we look to Adrian to help us with that one. How do we word this? And someone had the idea that, well, what if we created a new award that wasn't technically an induction into the Hall of Fame, but this fits better for something like that. And so that's the kind of informal stuff we do. And then there was a discussion of, well, could we put, you know, I don't think there's any disagreement that there's a lot of people that need to get into Barbecue Hall of Fame. We're way behind in making this happen. So the discussion goes to, could we induct 4 members this year and 3 legacy members instead of 2 and 3? And so we discuss it, and as a committee we decide, you know, as long as there's a budget there for that and there's no reason not to, that's what we're going to do. And so there's this, you know, sort of housekeeping is more what I would call it. But I can tell you, as being part of that committee, and, you know, Greg, this has been my life, man. I'm not just a competition cook. I've eaten in every barbecue restaurant I could find in the country. I've read every book. I accidentally became a historian. And like I said, it's this room full of nerds, and it's really pretty great. So I feel so good about it, because I don't know that there's a better way to do it than to put a bunch of people in the room. And so when they start talking about a black guy from South Carolina that was a descendant of slaves, and I'm making this up, and his family then opened a barbecue restaurant, and his daughter is still running it, or whatever, you know, some story like that comes up. Well, it's a little out of my wheelhouse, but it's not out of the wheelhouse of half the people on the committee. It's really amazing how deep this goes. And so, you know, we all sort of give and take. You know, if it's not on my terms, I can tell you one I went to bat for this year strongly, and I think I got a lot of response, was Karen Putnam. Karen, I knew Karen. Karen was one of the original people back in the day helping us. Karen personally helped me with my barbecue competition cooking and was really nice to me. And Karen was a badass chef in Kansas City. The way I know the story, she was Paul Kirk's boss. And Paul, when they were doing Team Kansas City that won the first Jack, Karen was the lead of that team. That's my understanding of it. Now I could be wrong. I wasn't there, but Karen Putnam is a rock star in our world. And, you know, you always got to remember, in Kansas City, so in Cleveland now, if you go to a hotel, nice hotel with a culinary program, they might be cooking some barbecue. You got on 4th Street, Michael Simon's barbecue restaurant. That wasn't the case in Cleveland 30 years ago. There might have been a barbecue restaurant, but it wasn't on 4th Street, that's for sure.
No doubt.
In Kansas City, it was. You know, Karen was the chef when I knew her at one of the big casinos, and barbecue was a regular thing on their menu because it's Kansas City. So there was this. For me, it was new when I first encountered her and Paul as well, that they were chefs and they were barbecue people. And so to me, Karen Putnam was just a rock star in our world, and was that's one of those people that could have gotten forgotten. And I went to bat for her and gave him my story. And of course, there was some well-written nominations, and so Karen ends up being inducted. And I think that's really a good one. Now, is that everybody's favorite? Does anybody on the internet know who Karen Putnam even is? is she more worthy than some of our more contemporary nominees? Well, I don't know, but I think she is. And I think we look at everybody in every corner of the barbecue world. And again, it makes people mad because it may not be in their lane. It may not be their friend. It may not be the big name, but there was a barbecue world before we had Facebook and Twitter. And, we need to consider that as well.
Ray, I had mentioned last week on the show that the Hall of Fame has changed so much from what it was originally thought of or intended to be that perhaps there could end up being a potential image issue that the Hall of Fame has to contend with, trying to accommodate all of the live fire industry. You can leave a certain sector of folks feeling neglected or left out this year, as you were talking about the people wanting to see the people in their specific lanes get in. Is that a legitimate concern that you are talking about, like you and the names committee talk about, or are you good with where the vision and the ship steering is going right now, and that's just a mere bump in the road that you're going to be able to overcome as long as you continue to roll with the vision that you have?
I don't know that we've considered that. I know that there is a feeling among the committee that in the past there have been some less than stellar performances by the committee that, we used to all complain that it was really, no one knew what was going on. There was no clarity. There was no, openness to it at all. And I think that was a problem. Now, it's definitely, I don't know that there's a better way to do it. Like I just described, there's this committee of people. And one of the things we also talk about every year, do we need to add some people to this? Is there somebody that would really be a good fit to this committee? We don't need to make it bigger, but we can. Last year we added Kathleen Purvis, who's a really interesting culinary historian, and Amy Mills. Two very different people. They know each other, but two very different people and come from different places. So I tend to think, I don't know that there's a better way to do it now. When you think about what they did in some of the early days, they had the categories. Okay, we're going to have one competition guy. I don't remember exactly what the 3 categories were, but, it's going to be one industry person and one competition person and one restaurant person or whatever it was. And to me, that was just I never thought that was the right thing to do because it just confined the thinking behind it. And there's so many lanes. It's one of those things. There's, how many lanes is there? There's so many different ways you get to be a famous barbecue person. Like yourself, perfect example, nobody, like your commercial said, nobody really, you're not famous for cooking barbecue. It's kind of where you found us all, but that's not how you made your name in barbecue. That doesn't make you any less important. Ray actually had a smoker, guy named Mike Scrutchfield taught Ray how to cook way back in the day. But that wasn't what made him who he was. That wasn't why he was part of the team. And then what about guys like me who did all these different things? So what category would you put me in? I think I got inducted in the celebrity category or something, didn't I?
Yep.
Which Paul Kirk was always making a big deal out of that because I didn't get inducted as a pit master.
I asked you about that when you got in. I was like, would you have rather been inducted into it as a pit master? So, I remember that. That's a big deal for some folks.
I actually forget. Well, but think about it. It's not anymore. You know what I mean?
Right.
Because it's not a thing. I certainly think I belonged in there. So I at the moment, I think the best thing we could have is this group of people that has come together that are really experts. I can tell you by sitting in those meetings, if it was BS, I wouldn't be part of it. Mm-hmm. I wouldn't want to be part of that. If I didn't think it was right, I wouldn't be. And I think everybody else is the same way. These are honorable people. You know what I mean? These are not like some schmucks that snuck in there. Now, what they were doing in the past, I don't know. Is there a better way? I don't know. How could we possibly? We don't have do we make you retire before you could be in the Hall of Fame? Well, I'm not going to retire, so I'm not going to retire so I can get in the Hall of Fame. Maybe we cut it off at 50 years old. I don't know. I know guys I didn't really start my barbecue career until I was 43. So, it's just hard to find a finite way to do it. So I tend to think for the moment anyway, just having this group of people that I feel really strong about. But trust me, I'll tell you today that I don't feel strong about that group of people, and I think they're making mistakes. So Are we getting questioned? I don't know. We probably will because I come out and talk about it. Emily comes out and talks about it. I don't know if Robert talks about it. Robert Moss, he's on the team. Adrian. I don't know if they actually speak about it like I do. But, we'll probably catch some flack because of that. And once again, the real reason is because your friend didn't get inducted. And I'm sorry if your friend didn't get inducted. He might have been my friend too. But it's a pretty good way we do it. And then the voting is the actual Hall of Fame members, and the committee gets the vote as well. What are you going to tell them they're wrong, that they shouldn't have voted for that guy? There's the one that comes up all the time is Bill Arnold, and Bill was my friend too. And I helped Bill in the early days of Blues Hog. We were, I know the story, but he was on the ballot for 3 years and he didn't get voted in. It's not my fault. I voted for him. So I think it's done right. I don't think it was anybody got together and said, let's not vote for Bill. There's just a bunch of great candidates that end up getting in, Excuse me. I had COVID last week. I'm finally recovered. Should Joe Traeger not be in there? Of course he should. How did he not get in his first year? It's kind of amazing. So I just think there's just such a backlog that we just can't win until we get them all in, and it's going to be a long time.
Ray Lampe, Dr. Barbecue, joining us here on the show. drbbq.com is his website. Before I let you go, Ray, somebody had mentioned that the fifth or bonus week of a month seems to be infomercial show. We had Oklahoma Joe on a little bit earlier. We were talking about the new DLX pellet cooker, and then we had the guy from Nexgrill on, Ramsey. Oh boy, why am I forgetting his name? Ramsey from Nexgrill, and he was talking about it's a smart gas grill, but then also it's got an air fryer attached to it. I'm not sure if you're familiar with that or not. And of course, you're now not new at this point, but outside of the brand everybody had associated you with for decades. You're with Louisiana Grills now. So after you have some time underneath and you're playing around with all these different models, what do you like about Louisiana Grills, and what should we be looking for if we're in the market?
Yeah, I really like the grills. It's funny you say that. So you got Joe Davidson and myself out here hawking pellet grills. I think that shows you where the industry's going. Because I met Joe probably 30 years ago, and he was building smokers out of pipe from the oil fields. I mean, that's really, and Joe was one of them guys people were starting to forget about, and we got him in the Hall of Fame last year, and I couldn't be happier about that because he's a character and he belongs in the middle of all this. Louisiana Grills are really nice. They are building the upscale. So it's Pit Bosses, the same company. Pit Bosses are at Walmart and Lowe's, and we're selling them I was at the Daytona 500 selling them in the parking lot. And they're great. They're that level of pellet grill, and they wanted to build a nicer version. Now Louisiana Grills is a brand they've used before, so it does get a little confusing for the moment, but they brought on a team of sales guys from around the country, and one of them is Lou West, who worked with Big Green Egg with me, and there's guys from Traeger and Weber and every other grill company that have sold grills over the years. And then they hired me to be the chef in the middle of it all, which was an accident. You know what I mean? They wasn't just a casual thing. They're serious about this brand, and they built some beautiful grills. The Legacy Founders series are these 1,200-inch square inch one and an 800-inch square inch one with a stainless lid, double walled. It's got this sear situation that is unlike anybody else is doing. We don't have an air fryer on the side, but we do have a situation where you can slide over your deflector and grill a steak right over the fire. And I'm telling you, it works. If you put a steak on that fire, you better not walk away because it's going to sear it. They're just beautiful. I'm really happy to be involved with the company, and pellet grills are the thing, I'm happy to be part of that. That other company I used to work with, we had a nice run. We took that thing from the one that nobody knew what was going on with it to a pretty big deal. And we're kind of looking to do that again. And I think we got the grills to make it happen.
Ray Lampe breaking it all down for us, as he always does when he shows up. You can visit him at drbbq.com. Follow him on social media. He's active there as well. Ray, always appreciate the time, and we will do it again soon.
Thanks, Greg. Good to see you.
You too. That's Ray Lampe right there.
All guests appear via the Oklahoma Joe's Rider Deluxe Pellet Grills hotline.
drbbq.com, the website, and socially. He's still active, absolutely. And if you're in the market, check out those Louisiana grills too. Guy, is that enough for you? We've done 3 different brands this evening. How about that? Let me throw another one your way. Primo Grills. That's right. Maybe you're not a pellet fan at all. Maybe you want to do charcoal driven. What do we love about ceramic cookers? We love that they're fuel efficient. We love that they can achieve low and slow temperatures for traditional barbecue meats. They can also get rip-roaring hot for the high heat grilling of steaks and other thin cuts. But we know what's missing, right? The real ability to do true two-zone cooking. Two-zone cooking is the very best way to cook, and it's important to both professional and backyard cooks alike. You can't get a two-zone fire in most ceramic cookers. Why? Because they're round. Enter Primo Grills, their game-changing oval design. The shape gives you the ability to execute the two-zone setup that you desire. It also gives you the other ceramic grill benefits as well. 60 different ways to configure this cooker, so only limited by your culinary imagination. Also, accessories. We love accessories. We want to spend all our money on a grill, then all of the rest of our monies on accessories. And here you can get a Primo Grill rotisserie that the owner, Nick Bauer, absolutely loves. He says chicken wings are second to none in the Primo Grill rotisserie. How do you like pizza? Yeah, of course. They have a Primo Grill pizza accessory. Other accessories always on the come. How about rib racks, half drip pans, things like this? Just like Green Mountain Grills, Primo sold through dealers only. So go to primogrill.com, find a dealer near you, visit them, see all the various sizes that they have. Yes, they do make a round one, but we're saying get the oval, be a game changer, be a mold breaker. Best ceramics in the biz, patented technology, true two-zone cooking capabilities, multiple sizes. primogrill.com for a dealer near you. Check them out on Facebook and Instagram as well, and follow them both at each location. Nick, send me a Primo already. Let's go. Appreciate Nick and all the gang over there at Primo Grills. We wrap the show right after this. Stick around. We'll be right back.
Whole packers, full racks, legs and thighs, injecting butts. If you've never heard this before, you might think you found the best XXX show ever. Let's get back to the most homoerotic host out there today, Craig Rempe.
Back in the day, watches were made to be worn in the pocket. After World War II, the wristwatch came into vogue, and the pocket watch quickly became an afterthought, finding their way into sock drawers and scrap heaps, and that's a shame. And the Vortic Watch Company helping bridge the gap between America's storied watch manufacturing past and taking it to present day, where the wristwatch is finding incredible popularity again. The coolest part, each watch that Vortic makes unique, one of a kind. Nobody has one just like yours. Vortic, founded on the motto that America wasn't assembled, it was built. Check out VorticWatches.com. All right, let's go ahead and see if we can't get out of here on time this evening, because that would be some kind of miracle. All the way back in the first hour, who did we speak with? Let me go on recollection. Oh, well, of course. It's my man, Oklahoma Joe. Joe Davidson, the original creator of the Oklahoma Joe's brand, talking a little bit about the DLX pellet grill, of course. Then we talked with Ramsey Hallfield from Nexgrill, nexgrill.com, the website, and that NEEVO 720 Plus Smart Grill, gas grill, and air fryer, all in one. If you missed that, podcast will be up here in just a little bit. And then the second hour, it was all Dr. Barbecue all the time, talking about the history of Ray Lampe, which I didn't outline for, but that's certainly great. We also talked about the Hall of Fame and the voting and everything that goes into that behind the scenes, pulling back the curtain as much as he's comfortable in doing. And that was quite a bit, by the way. And then lastly, talking a little bit about the Louisiana grills that he is now a chef for. So if you're in the market, check out all those grills that were mentioned this evening. But mostly all of the grills that sponsor me. We'll work on that next grill. Why not? Big show planned for you next week. It's the brand new month of June, so we're going to have How to Barbecue Ride. We're going to have Sam the Cooking Guy back in the country, plus a host of other guests, and takes, and fun and frivolity, because it is the fun and frivolity show. How do I always leave you? September 11th, 2001. I will never forget. Until next Tuesday at 9 p.m. Eastern, this is your program host and proud U.S. American Greg Rempe. Good night now.
Hey, what's up? This is JM, host of the Celebrity Grill podcast on iTunes, and you're listening to the Barbecue Central Radio Network. All barbecue and grilling, all the time.